It's time for the Engaged Club, the podcast for club managers and operators that strive to create loyal and connected members, guests, and customers. Here are the two guys with the club management and digital marketing advice you need to realize your club's potential. Jim Hope and Roger Kincaid.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Engaged Club podcast, supported by the CSCM. We're very excited to have this new partnership with Canadian Society of Club Managers. I'm Roger Kincaid. I'm the marketing guy from Off Course Golf. You can see us online at offcourse.golf.
I'm Jim Hope, and I'm the GM of the Derrick Golf and Winter Club. And it is very exciting to be supported by CSCM, Raj. Thank you, Suzanne Godby here for contacting us to create a partnership. We thank you for that.
Jim, I'm really excited about this episode. I know you're going to talk about the perfect staff meeting. I know someone, a mutual friend of ours, you did like a session about the perfect staff meeting for his business. And he still talks about it. He still talks about what an important, session it was and what it really meant to his staff and helping him out with his business. So I'm really excited to get into this with you.
Oh, good. Thanks. And that's good to hear, because it's really important to make sure that if you're going to spend the money on the labor to bring all of your staff together and bring everyone into the same room for a purpose, right? And the purpose is probably to either you're introducing a new product line. In this case, they were just, this is a service business, and they were trying to bring all of their team together and make sure that they were all focused on what they felt was really important with the hospitality side of their business. But if you're going to spend the time and the money to bring all your staff and put them in a room, you might as well make it engaging while they're there. I mean, there's no point in having them come in and sit down in a room for an hour and a half, or potentially sometimes even up to 2 hours, and have them falling asleep through it and leaving it going, well, that was a waste of my time. And what did I gain from that? I mean, you want them in the room, you want them to leave in that hour afterwards going, holy crap, it's pretty clear to me what it is I'm supposed to be doing around here, what's important, and how I can make a difference. And today we talk a lot about, the purpose of making sure that the staff understand what the purpose of your business is and how they're a part of making sure that purpose is fulfilled, and how important that is to your customer. And in our case, it's the member or the golfing guest that walks through the door of your club. So I think one of the first things you need to do when you're putting your staff meeting together is make sure you keep it moving. Like, there's nothing worse than when you get to a staff meeting and it's dull, right? And it's flat and it's slow. One of the best ways to do that is, whatever you do, I implore you not to open the employee manual. So right. All right, starting at page 1 of the manual, you'll see a welcome letter for me. Welcome to the club. And page 2 is our index, and you'll see that there's 62 pages, and we're going to be here a while, folks. So settle in. I mean, no, I assume in most cases you've hired people that can read. So let them read the manual. This is not about going through your employee manual and making sure that they understand where they smoke. They'll let them read about where they smoke, or where their smoker parked their car, or when payday is. You don't need to be doing that during the staff orientation. And at this time of the year, in most clubs, it's that new member or that new staff member orientation, and very much your veteran staff are with you as well. I think the second thing you want to do is you want to keep it fun. There's nothing wrong with laughing and giggling and playing some games and giving stuff away to your people, right? I mean, they should be leaving this going, that was a hoot. And maybe I learned something as well. We did something at a club where everyone would be broken up in tables of 6 or 7, maybe 8 if we had a big crowd, and there would be different departments that would be there. And what we would have them do is say, all right, here's what we want you to do. Each of you at that table, we're going to give you 10 minutes, has to tell a story about yourself that anyone at that table who knows you would know about you. I was like, hey, yeah, when I was 5 years old, I took a Tonka toy and I was playing with it. And I stuck it up my nose and it got stuck, and my parents had to take me to the hospital, and and the doctor had to surgically remove this plastic toy from my nose. So go around the table, listen to everybody's story, pick what you think is the best story, the most unique story. And then that person from your table is going to get up and tell that story to the room. And whoever at the end of this is judged to have the best story is going to win a prize. And what it does is it's fun. It's light. You get to learn something about somebody that you wouldn't have known before. The other people in the room get to learn something about somebody who they may never have met before. And certainly if they knew them, they might not have known that about them. And I can guarantee you one thing. one of the stories that's going to be told, and one of the people from one of the groups that's going to be stand up is going to be with someone who had a life-changing experience that's going to be moving to the room. That's happened every single time I've done that. That when you've looked at somebody, you realized that that was something that that I took to heart and I'm going to remember. And I'll give you a quick story on that. I had a fellow who one of our staff members, a 17-year-old backshop kid. I won't say his name. Who to me was just a game changer, and he was the type of young man that I thought was going to change the world. And he told the story about how he goes to the Military Museum in Calgary off of Crowchild Trail. You'll know where that is. Yep. And he goes every weekend, and often he takes his younger brother. His father was in the armed forces. His dad was killed, not while in the armed forces, but was killed. And it was a way that him and his brother would go, and it brought back some really fond memories of their dad. So that's something that me as a manager, I put into my memory bank. And when we wanted to recognize him and celebrate him for doing something really great in his position at the club, we bought him 2 annual passes for the Military Museum. And gave them to him for him and his brother to be able to go whenever they wanted to be able to visit. And they became, their military buffs, and for the fact that it meant so much for them and about their dad. Wow. So you're able to then take that story that you heard during a really fun and interesting session during a staff orientation and be able to use that. And I say use that in a really kind way later to recognize somebody in your team in a very thoughtful and very personal way. Wow. So laugh and giggle and have some fun.
Jim, the thing that really stands out to me so far about this is that you're talking about the perfect staff meeting, and it's entirely about the staff. You've put the staff first. You're celebrating your staff right off the bat, as opposed to talking about the organization. I guess that's just natural.
But part of what you're doing when you do that is that you're saying to them that you're the most important people in this club. Because if we take care of you, you're going to take care of our members. And I think when you take care of your staff and you make it personally, it builds credibility with you as well as the leader to say, hey, this person cares about me. I'm going to care more about what they're saying and what's important to them what they're telling me is important at our club. So I think it gives you credibility as well. And obviously, it goes without saying that you need to be authentic when you're doing this, and they'll catch you right away if you're not. So, right. Third thing I think you want to do is you want to keep it interactive. This can't just be a download, a dump of information to your staff for an hour and a half. This has to be a two-way conversation you have with them. And often it's just about, if you're talking about the purpose of what it is, what to do is important. It's storytelling. It's talking about examples. It's having some of your veteran team that are in the room talking about what it's meant to them and examples that they've had over the years, so that rookie team, those rookie teammates that are there will have a really clear understanding as to what it is that you're talking about. And you want to make sure you don't embarrass anybody, because often you may have staff that English is a second language to them, and the communication might be a bit of a challenge, and you certainly never want to put them on the spot in a room of 10, 15, 20, or 50 or 100 people. So, but I can guarantee that you'll have some members of your team, because you're going to be hiring extroverts, right? You're going to want people, you're going to be hiring people that are afraid, as John Fisher said, that will grab someone and be the first ones up on a dance floor, because that's who you need at your club. So these are people that will interact and will come back to you when you ask them questions. I'm pretty sure that that's going to happen. You want to make sure that you use all the mediums. Again, it just can't be an information dump load. So use video and use music and use slides and talk and digress when you do this. You might just stop in the middle and say, look, I'm going to play a video that I just saw the other day that I thought was really cool. That has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but I think you're going to find entertaining. And people appreciate that. And, it just gives them a bit of a break so that they can, digest everything that's come in, have a bit of a laugh, relax a little bit, and then allow you to get back into what it is that you want to share with them. And by the way, when I say what you want to share with them, this would be your senior leadership team that would do the sharing with you. You may actually just be the facilitator of the meeting with the balance of your senior team. And it's very, the meeting has been structured, and you've strategized as to who's going to be delivering what message, because there's a purpose for why you're there for the meeting. There's a purpose for what you want them to take out of it. I think you want to keep it simple. This isn't supposed to be a test to see who the smartest is in the room. It's about just keeping the message simple to them, so that when they leave, they have a very, very clear understanding as to what their purpose is at the club. One of the things, you and I have talked a lot about is leaders needs to become great storytellers. I think when you can give examples to your team of what it is, the message you're trying to give them, a real life example of something that's happened at the club or even outside the club, but they can relate to, they have a better understanding of digesting what it is you're trying to say and be able to see how they implement that in real life because you've given them an example of what you're talking about. So it just clears up the message that you're trying to give. I think at the very end of this, you want to make sure you ask them what they got out of the session. And that is where I might put everybody on the spot. I would take the time to go around the room to ask them that, what is it that you got out of this? And what are you going to do tomorrow? Or what is the one thing that you got out of this session that you're going to implement and you're going to become part of your mantra when you're at the club and you're working with other staff members and you're working with members? And I think one of the things you're going to tell them during that staff meeting is that when we talk about you say hello to everybody, that hello isn't just the members. That's hello is to the staff that you see as well. That the way you treat the members is exactly how we want you to treat each other also. So you want to make sure that I think you do put them on the spot and you ask them what they got out of that session. And often what that does is it gives you a chance to reinforce those learnings that you've passed along to them during the staff meeting. You can reinforce that to them, and then you also reinforce it for everybody else who's in the room. So make sure you get that interaction. And last but not least, have some type of a big closing. And that isn't a clown, or a Cirque du Soleil. It could be actually. John Fisher would be, right? All of a sudden they look up and three Cirque actors, follow the rafters of the building and, with scarves and start doing a show. That could be a great way for them to go, it was a hell of a staff meeting I was just had. Or it could be as simple as a video that is inspiring and supports the message of what your staff meeting is about, of what you were trying to pass on to your team. And then just stop, right? Just say, hey, great folks, go on out, be the difference and go change the lives of the people you work with and the members that you see on a daily basis. And you're done. So those, to me, if you can get those sort of 8 things incorporated into your staff meetings, I think you've got a great chance of being able to download information to your team that they're then going to be able to implement when they get onto the job, as opposed to, everybody want to go for beer? That was boring. You're going to have a chance to have an impact with them, which in turn they'll have an impact with the team they work with, along with the members at the club. Wow.
All right. You know what to do now. Hit rewind, go back to the start of this podcast with that pencil and notepad in front of you now and write down all 8 of these steps. Awesome stuff, Jim. I know that's going to be one of the well bookmarked episodes and YouTube videos that people are going to favorite. So like I said, we've got a YouTube channel now for the Engaged Club. You can go to YouTube and search for Engaged Club, or right there on the homepage at engagedclub.com is a button that you can click to subscribe. We would really appreciate it if you would.
And if you go to hello@engagedclub.com, I'd be happy to send you 30 really great videos that I've used in the past that I'd be happy to share with you if you're interested.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for listening to the Engaged Club podcast. If you like what you heard, share it with your friends in the club business. And until next time, thanks for listening.
This has been the Engaged Club podcast with Jim Hope and Roger Kincaid. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. If you like what you heard, share it with your fellow club managers and operators. Until next time, thanks for listening.